All right, everybody out there in crime land, here at the Athenian Boutique Inn, we're going to take a quick tour. My main man, Steph, is photographer and videographer today. Welcome. See the sign? We don't want crime here, so we got a secret code to get in. Welcome to the Athenian Boutique Inn, 347 West Hancock. I'm wearing these stupid earplugs so that I can talk and you can hear me. Here's our lounge. If anyone wanted to come in here and talk about true crime, this would be a great place to do it. You got your wine, your beer, your water, your drinks. If you ever want to have a wine tasting, Steph, my man here, can do it. Reach out. What's your number, Steph?
706
706
255
255
8267.
8267. And if you need to go anywhere, Steph has a VIP driving service. Anyway, 1848 build, the Athenian. I'll show you real fast, one quick room. Beautiful spot. No crimes have been committed here. Very safe environment. Beautiful. Just renovated it. It's our first year open. Anyway, if you want to have a great weekend experience here in Athens, we'd love to see you at the Athenian Boutique Inn, 347 West Hancock, right downtown. Have a great day. Back to you, Cameron J.
Welcome back to Classic City Crime. I'm your host, Cameron J. And I am doing something I never thought I'd be doing. I am back on video with all of you and just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in and supporting the Baker family. It meant so much to them for all of you to join in, and we look forward to continuing to do this as we move into the future together. But with that, we have a very special episode for you all today. In November of 2024, independent candidate Kalki Yalamanchili made history when he was elected District Attorney of the Western Judicial Circuit, which encompasses both Athens-Clarke and Oconee Counties. He defeated then incumbent District Attorney Deborah Gonzalez in a campaign that had many of you talking yes, and there were many critiques of the former administration's handling of the office and of criminal cases. Yalamanchili assumed office in January of this year, and April 11th marked 100 days since he presumed the circuit's top prosecutor position. Now, 100 days is always a good time to check in with our elected officials and ask the questions that you all are asking, which is, how are things now at the district attorney's office? What challenges still remain? What challenges still remain? And what does the future of justice look like here in Athens-Clarke and Oconee Counties? Well, your elected district attorney, Kalki Yalamanchili, is here. Kalki, welcome to Classic City Crime. It's good to have you, my friend.
Thanks, Cameron. It's good to be here. Always great to spend some time with you, and looking forward to the chance to connect with your listeners and viewers in this case, I guess. And
times are changing. We're on camera now.
That's right.
Well, Kalki, there has been an overwhelming question from listeners in Athens and Oconee counties that we have to start out with, and that is, how in the world do you keep your beard so perfect?
So there's no great secret. I've had people ask me that. I literally just use a 3mm guard and I trim it on Sunday, and then I don't trim it again for the rest of the week.
All right.
And I just shave my neck in the morning.
All right. Y'all heard it here first. That is the Kalki Yalamanchili beard regimen. So, Kalki, let's move into some real topics now. Staffing was a huge issue at the district attorney's office, was a theme of your campaign, returning the office back to staffing levels that were adequate and could handle the caseload that the circuit is facing. What does staffing now look like under a Yalamanchili administration?
We've been really successful in bringing people on board. We have hired 8 assistant district attorneys. 7 of them have started. The 8th is starting on May 1st. As it stands now, there is only 1 open attorney position. And we're going to have one come open next week due to an individual relocating for their spouse's job out of state. So we will have 2 open starting next week. However, we're planning on finalizing an offer to a candidate that we've been talking to for well over a month now. Today, actually, and we have another candidate that we've identified and had been talking to for about a month also that we're hoping to offer that second position to here soon. So filling the positions, although it hasn't been easy, has been something that I feel like we've been successful in doing, and also doing it with people who, for the overwhelming majority of those folks have significant felony trial experience, which was really important. It's not just about putting people in the position, it's about putting the right people in the position in order to get the types of results that victims deserve and this community deserves.
So how many total ADA positions does that have at your office now?
So we currently, after the reallocation, have 15 positions, and that's really down from where we were in previous years. When I left the district attorney's office in 2018, there were 18 prosecutors plus the elected DA. And we had an issue through the failure to reapply for a grant last year that was the largest that the office receives, as well as a reduction in grant funding in the second principal grant that led to a loss of 8 positions in the office. And so I'm hoping to be able to address that through our budget requests that we've made both in Clarke County and Oconee County.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Oconee County.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I know that victim advocacy was also a huge tenet of your campaign, making sure that the rights of victims were honored, whether that be making sure you're following Marcy's Law with notifications or other actions. What steps are you currently taking to rectify some of the issues that were existing with victim advocacy and outreach?
Yeah, services to victims, it's the reason that we do the job. It's why people are called to it. And so it's incredibly important. It's a cornerstone of our responsibilities and our duties when we're acting as prosecutors, especially in the most serious violent felony cases. We brought in a new director of victim services. Her name is Ashley Duvall.
Wonderful person, by the way.
She is fantastic. I think y'all got to work together at Sane's fashion show fundraiser here just a few weeks back. Yeah. So I call her Tedder because I knew her before she was married. Her maiden name is Tedder. And so that's when I was an assistant district attorney back in 2012, my first office was directly across the lobby from the front desk at the district attorney's office, and that's where Ashley was working in the office.
Full circle moment now.
That's right, yeah. And so she moved from there to a victim advocate role, and then moved to the Okmulgee Judicial Circuit just to our south a few years ago, and was the director of victim services there when she, thankfully she accepted the offer to come fill that role in our office. And so Ashley does a great job, just to let the viewers know the type of person she is. She was taking vacation time in order to come over and get things squared away prior to even coming on board in February.
And like you mentioned, doing things with SANE, sexual assault nurse examiners.
Yes.
Supporting those organizations.
That's absolutely right. She has really good relationships with our partner agencies and really cares deeply about this community. She's been here since she came to Athens for colleges and remained here since then. So really loves this place and does a great job of leading our team of victim advocates. And then, the other thing that we have done is we've made it really clear to the prosecutors in our office that especially in the most serious cases, you need to be having conversations with these victims. It's not just that you use your victim advocate in order to serve as a liaison for communication, which is perfectly appropriate and fine, and that's that person's duty. But we also have a responsibility to sit down and speak to these victims in the most serious cases, explain what's happening, what we're going to be doing with the case, what's going to be happening next in the case, and develop that relationship and keep that communication open and ongoing.
Yes. And one thing that we've talked a little bit about victims, but we also talked a lot during the campaign about nonviolent offenders or people that might, be good candidates for things like accountability courts or pretrial diversion programs. We learned during the campaign that sometimes those courts were not being utilized to their full potential. Are you seeing an uptick in cases that are now going to pretrial diversion and accountability courts?
Yes, that's one of our main focuses. And it's one of those situations where you can talk about your priorities or you can show your priorities by the way you allocate your resources. So one of the things we did is we brought in a prosecutor with over 2 decades of experience doing criminal work, whose principal job duties involve accountability courts and the pretrial diversion program. And so bringing that level of experience is incredibly important. The feedback we've gotten from our partners in the accountability court process has been very positive. We're, again, an active partner in the screening and referral process, which is really important in order to have successful accountability court programs and a successful pretrial diversion program. And we're looking to expand the pretrial diversion program as we move further into my administration.
It's wonderful, wonderful news. Well, I want to make sure listeners know that from an ethical standpoint, I did work on your campaign, and I did so because I believed wholeheartedly in the vision of justice that you had for this community. And, you know, what I found so fascinating about our work together was that it really was common sense leadership, you know, letting go of the noise, the nonsense, the partisanship, and the politics to look back at serving people. So I'm curious what lessons in leadership you're learning and continuing to learn now that you've assumed the top cop job in the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been a believer that the best way to lead is not through words, but through actions, and to show people that you are never asking them to do something that you are not willing and able to do yourself. And that's from moving boxes of paper around in the office when we need to, or furniture, or whatever the case may be, up to, you know, going into courtrooms, handling caseloads, and doing the nuts and bolts work of being a prosecutor, because it's really important when you're leading to model the behavior that you're expecting other people to exhibit when they're fulfilling what is really just an incredibly powerful and meaningful role in the community.
You know, I always say that leadership is the courage to stand up and speak, yes, but also sometimes the courage to sit back and listen and to help. So totally agree with you on that. Now, Kalki, you have a very unique experience in the prosecution world in that you've served as a prosecutor, yes, but you've also served as a defense attorney in private practice. So I'm just curious, is that an interesting thing to navigate, or has it informed your, you know, experience and decision-making process in a way that is an asset to the organization?
I do think it's an asset. Certainly, I've sat on both sides of the courtroom. I've had clients who have been charged with crimes, including very serious crimes. I've represented people who are indigent. They can't financially afford an attorney, so an attorney has been appointed for them. And I think that that's really important as a prosecutor in order to maintain perspective and not get in a situation where you're viewing someone as being inherently a bad person because they've been charged with a crime. You know, most people who come into the courts, especially on nonviolent offenses in particular, oftentimes are just going through a very difficult period in their life, which is why, you know, I think it's so important for us to pay attention to, invest in, and utilize our accountability courts, pretrial diversion programs, and other treatment resources that we have available in our area when we're dealing with nonviolent offenders.
Yeah. Well, before we go to a quick break, we had one listener question come in from our friends, my neighbors over in Oconee County. And their question was, what can residents of Oconee County do, being smaller than Athens-Clarke, to better advocate for resources as it relates to your office?
Well, I appreciate that question. The support throughout the judicial circuit in Oconee County, certainly, and Clarke County also, has really been incredibly encouraging since we started our time in office back at the beginning of January. And I will say that we've received great support from Oconee County. We went through.
There was a divide there for a little while in the circuit when the previous administration was in office.
There was, and that's why it was so important to me me, as you know, from the campaign. We talked about it so many times that this role in this office should not be a place that's utilized to divide people or that's approached with, the effect of leveraging people's disagreements. Public safety is not a partisan issue. And when you talk about it in terms of what are the results that we want in different categories of cases, you can bring people together because this should be a place where we can find common ground. As far as the support out of Oconee County, we have received a proposed, I believe, budget. Hasn't been voted on or approved, but I think if things go as we were hoping they will, Oconee County is actually authorizing funding for an additional assistant district attorney to be placed in Oconee County, which will bring Oconee County to 2 full-time prosecutors. We've already put 1 full-time prosecutor back in Oconee County, and we did that beginning in February of this year, which was sorely needed. But really, with the way the county's population and the number of cases coming through, we needed 2 people, and Chairman Daniel in the Oconee County government, I think, is going to give us that, provided that everything passes.
Yeah. Well, sounds like a good call to action. Maybe you won't make it, but I will. If you're in Oconee County, make sure to reach out to your county commissioners, but also pay attention, to that budget process, which will be getting underway in both Athens-Clarke and Oconee counties over the next few months. So with that, we're going to take a brief break. We are here with Athens and Oconee County District Attorney Kalki Yalamanchili of the Western Judicial Circuit. We'll take a brief moment to hear from our friends here at Runway Co-work, where you can come and have a flex membership and work all day long in a space, who knows, maybe right next to me. We're going to go on a brief tour. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Kalki, how does it feel to be on camera and under the lights?
Feels great to be anywhere with you, Cameron. Really enjoying the conversation.
Many people who listen to Classic City Crime care a lot, as you know, about unsolved homicides. And while I know that you cannot speak to certain cases that listeners might care a lot about, what I do know is that because of the Coleman-Baker Act that we all advocated for, that the GBI is going to be perhaps solving even more cases that are sometimes 10, 20, and 30 years old. So my question is the district attorney's office preparing for a scenario like that, and how might it change the way you approach cases? I would assume that a case that happened last month and a case that happened 30 years ago might look a lot different.
That's absolutely correct. I think that the Coleman-Baker Act has devoted resources, rightfully so, to an area where victims' families have been waiting an extremely long time in order to see justice and accountability for the loss of their loved one or a crime that was committed a very long time ago. And it is my hope, and I think we've seen some of this already, that the committing those resources is going to result in more arrests being made through the gathering of additional evidence and investigation in some older cases. And certainly for the prosecution, that poses challenges. In general terms, as a case gets older, it gets better for the defense and worse for the prosecution. Number of reasons for that: witnesses, memories fade, or they even pass away. many things can happen over a period of decades, obviously, that make it more difficult to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt once you end up in a courtroom. What we can do in order to prepare for that is, one, make sure that we've got experienced prosecutors in the office, and two, leverage relationships that we have with prosecutors throughout the state of Georgia. And one of the great things about having spent my entire career doing criminal work is that I've met a lot of people in a lot of different places in the prosecution community. Is both large and very small at the same time. And it is very much a community where everyone is doing this job because they believe in seeking justice. And when you need help, if you ask for it and you've had the types of relationships where you've been willing to give it in different circumstances, that you'll get a lot of support, not just from inside your own office and community, but from throughout the state of Georgia. And so I think that's incredibly important when you're approaching difficult cases, and older cases are difficult cases.
Yeah. And I think it's so fascinating, too, that when you look at some of the budget allocations, even at the state level, a lot of it is to back up, an arrest with scientific evidence, not just circumstantial. So we'll keep our eyes on that as we move forward. So 100 days are now behind you, and 3 years ahead of you. So what are some of your primary goals for the rest of this year, your first year in office?
Yeah, so when we're stepping into office, I was trying to put in place in my mind a roadmap, a timeline of what I thought were kind of reasonable expectations and time frames in which those expectations could be met. The first 100 days was really about bringing in a core team, including changes in leadership team, that could stabilize the office and begin to triage some of the more serious cases that weren't getting the attention that they needed to get. These next 3 months are really about fully building out the team that we'll have in the longer term. And then from there, the remainder of the year, and quite honestly, probably next year as well, is about getting caught up on a backlog of cases that's been accumulating for years and years now. I mean, we've got felony cases that are 2 and 3 years old where no one's really done any work on them since the arrest was made, a few years ago. And so getting caught up on that, there's no magic solution to that. It's just consistent, concerted effort with good guidelines in place, good training and support for people to be able to work through that and get the office in the position it needs to be to serve this community the way that it deserves to be served.
Well, it's like I say, your success is our community's success. It is victims having their rights honored, and it is those who are accused having a fair day in court and also getting the help that they need to. So, Kalki, I really appreciate you coming on today. So, Kalki, with that, we're wrapping up this interview. I wanted to do something less rigid, less focused on the legalities of your job. So I have to know, we're going to do a little quick round of this or that so that people can get to know you better. Is it going to be Waffle House or Mama's Boy for you?
Oh, well, if the kids are with us, Waffle House, because it's faster. If it's just me and Caitlin, Mama's Boy. They do a great job there.
All right. REM, B-52s, or dare I say widespread panic? Panic. All right. I did not expect that one. So what about hike at Sandy Creek Park or a concert at the 40 Watt?
Hike at Sandy Creek Park. We really like hiking.
Right. I'll do the late night show at 40 Watt and probably regret it the next day. Early morning workout or late night scroll session?
Early morning workout.
Definitely going to be the late night scroll session here. College football Saturday or quiet brunch Sunday?
Go Dogs. College football Saturday.
I won't even tell you what my option is there. Podcast binger or documentary junkie?
Oh, man, can I cheat
And be careful
say both?
about which podcast you say is your favorite.
Honestly, I'm both. I'm almost exclusively podcasts in the car, but I love a good documentary also when we're at home.
I'm a Dateline guy. Keith Morrison, The Voice, it's just the best. Classic suit and tie or jeans and sneakers off the clock, when you're off the clock?
Jeans and sneakers. I mean, more specifically, a dry fit t-shirt and a pair of shorts.
Yes, summer is here or coming.
Yes.
Cook at home or DoorDash?
Cook at home.
Yeah.
I've been making a pretty good pasta alla vodka lately.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be over. Let Caitlin know we'll be on the way.
Sure.
So would you rather be a judge on America's Got Talent or a guest star on Law & Order?
Oh man, I'm gonna go guest star Law and Order. I've always been amazed how they can go from a crime being committed to the defendant confessing during cross-examination in the course of an hour. So I feel like I could learn something there.
And running for re-election in 3 years, or going off the grid?
Off the grid, although I know I will be running for re-election.
All
in
right,
30
you heard
years.
it here first, friends, on Classic City Crime. Listeners, thank you so much for being here. Mr. District Attorney, thank you so much for joining us and being willing to come on. And as always, make sure to like, share, comment, rate, and review. We look forward to being back right here with you very soon. Until then, I'm Cameron J. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Cameron.